What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video is episode 2 of the fat loss series, and we are diving in deep to what fat is, why fat, and the how behind fat. And I am talking about the stuff that can be either burned or stored inside of your body. After I go through all of those details, I'll get into the details of saturated versus unsaturated fats. Now, within the details of those fats, is there a better one for us? Should we eat more of a specific fat or not? I wonder if that's a claim or not. Man, I really should probably watch the entire video so I can actually know a legit answer here. So guys, if you have not watched video 1 yet, go back and do that. But a preface into that, what did I actually talk about there? I went over the basis of what metabolism actually is, where does these type of processes take place, and I went over the 3 major steps on a big picture basis. If you're literally so confused right now that you have no idea what I'm saying, it's probably because you still did not watch the last video. Go back and watch it, and then hit the subscribe button so you never miss another one. So I'm very aware that there are 3 big steps inside of fat metabolism, but you need to understand the basis of what fat actually is to understand how these things are processed. Let's understand what fat is, step number 1. A fat, in really big, weird terms, is called a lipid. So a lipid is a fat, and it looks like this. And within this little graph, you'll see 3 different categories inside of the lipids. A lipid is the same thing as a fat. Those 3 categories inside of the category of a lipid are triglycerides. Huge topic here that I'm probably gonna focus on the rest of the video. Sterols and phospholipids. And if you look really closer to this graph, it'll actually explain the function of each. So should I even go on to explain? I don't know, you probably should keep watching. So before I get into the intricacies of these different types of lipids, you need to understand a fat's role inside of your body. The 3 primary biological functions of a lipid are, these things can be thought of as the energy storehouses. So that's all fat really is really good at. It is a source of stored energy. And fats actually make up the structural components of a cell membrane, which is pretty cool to think about. Fats also function as really important signaling molecules. So let me stop really quick. Again, so a lipid is the same thing as a fat, and fats have 3 different categories, which I just described. They were triglycerides, phospholipids, and sterols. Now I'm gonna be focusing primarily on triglycerides because this is, in my opinion, one of the most important things to understanding fat metabolism and how it's processed inside of your body. So a really fun fact about these triglycerides. These fats compose about 95% of the fats in the foods that we eat. And again, here's what it looks like if you really care. So again, from last video, if you don't remember, when I talk about, remember, step 1 of fat metabolism is breaking down a triglyceride into 1 glycerol and 3 fatty acids. And as you can see inside the structure of these triglycerols, they're linked by ester bonds. And again, to touch on phospholipids, these things make up the basis of your cell membrane. And you have a bunch of cells inside of your body, and without these types of fats, you would basically be a big pile of liquid and all the other things inside the cells because the phospholipids are important. So phospholipids make up those cell membranes and also act as carrier molecules. The 3rd category of the lipids, which again, lipids are just the same thing as fats. Category number 3 that I talked about are sterols. Sterols are found inside of the tissue of both animals and plants. Now, the only thing that makes these things so much different than the other ones are they possess carbon rings rather than carbon chains. Super nerdy, you don't need to know it, but fun fact. You may have heard of this type of sterol, which is just a category of a lipid, which is the same thing as a fat. Cholesterol. you definitely have heard of cholesterol. It is a type of sterol. And here's some more sterols. As you can see, just a small, tiny change in something's chemical structure, like the picture just showed you, all of the different kinds of sterols, the change in structure will determine their function. Now, to just touch bases again, last video we did talk about burning on the inside of your body dietary fats versus stored fats. And the stored fats that I'm talking about here and the dietary fats, these are triglycerides. Fun fact. And again, if you're still confused, go watch the last video and it is here if you still didn't see it. So now that we went over the big three categories, I want to hone in on triglycerides. So as you can see, the structure of a triglyceride is a glycerol and 3 fatty acids. And where does that sound familiar from? That very sentence came from my video number 1 as I talked about step 1 of fat metabolism. So this is where all of this stuff kind of intertwines, and it's really important that you understand everything. So now we have kind of a total understanding that a fat is just a lipid and a triglyceride is just a subset of a lipid, which is just a fat. So what makes a saturated fat versus an unsaturated fat? And I just want to let you know that these types of fats are part of the triglyceride category because, like I said, I was going to focus in on triglycerides. So a saturated fat versus an unsaturated fat. Now the top picture in this diagram is a saturated fat and the 2 below are unsaturated fats. Now I want you to notice something about the picture. The saturated fats have just one huge line, right? In the unsaturated fats, the 2 below, the one on the top, has a big line, and then there's little lines inside of that. So what that means is a saturated fat just contains single bonds, and a unsaturated fat has different varieties of unsaturated. So as you notice, the unsaturated fats will have different varieties of double bonds throughout its structure. So what does that mean? When I think of a saturated fat, I think of single. And I think of single because a single bond is the composition of a saturated fat. And unsaturated fats, again, just contain that double bond. But we need to ask ourselves, what does this single versus double bond mean? So all that means is within a saturated fat, this is very, very strong. This takes a lot of energy for your body to break down, whereas a unsaturated fat has those double bonds. As you can see, the double bonds almost weaken the structure of these fats. So your body's ability to break down these unsaturated fats are a little bit easier than saturated fats. Why? Because saturated fats are super strong. They're very singular. The double bond basically weakens these structures. So it takes less energy for your body to break down these double bonds versus a lot of energy to break down these single bonds in saturated fats. So before I go into a little bit more details, I want to let you know that of some different examples of saturated versus unsaturated fats. So saturated fat examples are like butter, cakes, biscuits. Processed food has a lot of saturated fats. Cheese, bacon. Then some examples of some unsaturated fats. Avocados, avocado oil, peanuts, peanut butter, canola oil, sunflower oil, salmon. Now that we have that understanding, is one better than the other? No, because if you think about the why behind these types of fats, all you should really know is that one takes more energy to break down. Does that mean it's better or worse for us? No. It just means that your body is going to process it a little bit differently. And when we think about metabolism, look at this thing. That's what it is. All it means is your body's gonna do this a lot easier with unsaturated fats, whereas saturated fats are just gonna take more energy in this process to break down. That's it. Now, from a personal experience, when I eat butter versus when I eat nuts, I feel a little bit differently. Why do I feel a little bit differently when I am processing something that takes less energy to break down? That's why. That's pretty much why you feel differently versus like eating a ton of butter versus eating a ton of nuts. So I'm gonna wrap this up and leave you guys really wondering about some studies related to saturated versus unsaturated fats. I can think of 2, and I'm gonna go through them in the next video that I'm gonna post. That's gonna be a little bit of a shorter video, but it's basically going to bring to light some research. Some research on processed foods, AKA mostly saturated fats versus unsaturated fats. So I'm excited to present some literature that I thought was interesting and give you guys some basic understanding of what this tells us and what it doesn't tell us. So answering that big question, are unsaturated fats or saturated fats better for us? I think I'm gonna answer that question in the next video, which means you probably should push the subscribe button so you don't miss. If you guys like this kind of content, I have a huge announcement for you. Some of you in the past may have attended my Physique Summit. Well, if you didn't, I have some special news, and if you did, I even have more special news. I am now taking pre-registration for my next Physique Summit. Now, the first one was on pre and post workout nutrition, and it was such a huge win. I had so much fun. Everybody asked some amazing questions. So I decided, well, why not? Like, let's do another one. It's a lot of fun for everyone. So these Physique Summits are gonna be completely free, but there is one thing that I wanna note. To be invited to these free Physique Summits, you must be a part of my VIP list. Only the people on my VIP list are going to get this offer to basically join me for an hour of giving free information and then free questions and basically just getting to hang out for an hour. So if you are confused and you don't know what a Physique Summit is, don't worry. I will resend the old free Physique Summit to everybody before the next Physique Summit. But you have to be a part of that VIP list. And now you're gonna ask, how do I join the VIP list? All you need to do is click the first link below in the description box. Click on that first link and then just fill out the information. It basically is going to subscribe you to my VIP list, which then you'll get. And again, being part of that VIP list is actually special because those are the only people that are gonna be able to attend my free Physique Summits. They're free. It's a free thing. Oh my God. And again, this first Physique Summit was a little bit more general, which you'll find out if you need to rewatch it. But going back from the general basis of pre and post workout nutrition, this is now the opportunity to get a little bit more specific into the details behind pre and post workout nutrition. That's gonna be what the next Physique Summit is on. I would definitely attend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and being super nerdy with me about fats. Super fun topic for me to talk about. I love this stuff. I really look forward to the next video where I basically dive into some research on saturated versus unsaturated fats and answer that big question. Is there one that's better for us? Should we be even scared? I don't know. You need to watch the next video. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with a friend, comment some cool stuff because I'm going to reply to everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.